Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the common bug poison-type Pokemon Weedle, the Hairy Bug Pokémon, its relatively common evolution Kakuna, the Cocoon Pokémon, and its final uncommon evolution Beedrill, the Poison Bee Pokémon. While they might not appear to be the biggest threats at first, the members of the Weedle family are still feisty beasts that can more than put the fear of poison into the hearts of anyone that gets in their way.
Weedle have long, segmented brown bodies with fine hair covering most of their form, save for the 7 pairs of pink feet and the white barb that serves as their tail. Their large, rounded heads have a large pink proboscis, small black eyes, and a large stinger on their forehead that they use to deliver their primary attacks. Their evolved form, Kakuna, retain their black eyes, but the rest of their form is sealed inside of a multi-plated yellow cocoon that covers their bodies as they slowly transform into adults over time, though they also feature a barb on their tail end that they can use still for defense. Their final evolution, Beedrill, have large yellow bodies with 2 pairs of clear wings to use for flying, a large abdomen with 2 black stripes across it, as well as a small thorax, the head now sporting a pair of blackish-purple antennae and large red compound eyes. Their most notable features are their 4 limbs, the upper 2 ending in massive silver-colored stingers, as well as a large yellow stinger that's attached to the bottom of their abdomen. Lastly, these creatures have access to a Mega Evolved form, and in this state, their entire forms become much more angular and streamlined as their antennae change to a more jagged shape, and all 4 of their limbs now sport large stingers, the bottom 2 having yellow and black striped bases, their overall form appearing much more menacing and dangerous as a whole.
Like related insects, the members of the Weedle family live relatively simple lives with their natural habitats, devouring fallen leaves on the forest floor at a young age as the sole source of sustenance.
While Pokemon like Caterpie are not especially picky about the kinds of leaves they eat, Weedle are quite picky and will only eat the leaves of a few types of plants, primarily because these plants in particular provide Weedle the nutrients they need to produce their venom. Thankfully, Weedle have an exceptionally large proboscis that provides them an extremely acute sense of smell, allowing them to easily sniff out the right types of leaves among the vast volumes that collect on the forest floor. Usually, Weedle will eat their weight in leaves every single day in order to stockpile enough energy for evolution, which usually occurs within the first week or so of their lives. It is duly noted, however, that most Weedle do not make it to evolution in time and usually end up as a meal for predatory birds like Pidgeotto and Pharaoh. Those who do will eventually evolve into Kakuna, however, and while in this state of evolution, they are almost completely immobile and are able to do little other than use a harden technique, which they gain access to immediately after evolution to buff up their defenses against physical strikes. However, if a predator gets within an inch or so of their bodies, Kakuna can unleash a nasty surprise on them by quickly extending a venomous barb from the lower portion of their shell, potentially harming and poisoning those foolish enough to approach them. It should be noted though that Kakuna possess a lower base attack stat than their pre-evolved form, and are thus unable to deal as much damage as they could before evolution. Since their primary means of defense lies in their ability to poison others though, this means relatively little outside of a battle.
Their adult form, Beedrill, are designed to be fighters immediately after emerging from their cocoons, learning the Twin Needle attack immediately after evolving, and continuing to learn moves that work perfectly with their combat style.
Beedrill possess relatively weak physical defenses, slightly more so than even Kakuna, and so rely on hit-and-run tactics when hunting and scaring off potential predators and individuals trespassing within their territory, attacking with the large stingers on their forelegs and tail while flying around at high speeds. They tend to follow a relatively simple attack pattern in the wild, using the stingers on their forelegs to soften up the opposition with a few twin needle strikes before using their tail stinger to deliver the finishing blow. While all 3 of their stingers contain venom, their tail stingers contain the most concentrated toxins and are thus utilized only when needed since they take the most energy and resources to replenish. This also means that while Beedrill are able to deliver poison sting attacks with all 3 stingers, only their tail stingers have enough power to deliver a potent poison jab attack. Beedrill rarely ever use their tail stingers when hunting for small animals, however, as the regular toxins are usually more than strong enough to subdue said prey for transport back to their nest. As such, predators and people are usually the only life forms they ever have to worry about facing these insects' full strength.
While these creatures can usually rely on their shield dust ability at a young age to protect against status effects, or even a runaway ability as a hidden ability to evade attack, they are limited to shed skin as ability while in a cocoon, and as adults, their ruthless tendencies tend to give them access to swarm as their only base ability, though individuals with precise aim and skillful attacks can also have sniper as a hidden ability.
As far as the stats are concerned, Beedrill, like many bug types that reach adulthood quickly, are not that strong and underperform in most areas, though they at least have decent physical strength and speed to them, their base speed stat being above average for a fully evolved bug type Pokemon, and the base attack stat being above average for a fully evolved bug and poison type Pokemon, so they can at least hit decently hard with physical strikes to defend themselves with against stronger opponents.
Physically, Weedle are less powerful than the Cantonian counterpart Caterpie, and are unable to properly throw their long bodies to execute a tackle attack, apparently preventing them from utilizing their body mass for direct physical damage in the wild.
However, Weedle have something far better than a simple tackle attack to ward off predators with, a 2-inch long needle on their heads that is filled with venom. While poison sting attacks are technically weaker than almost any other attacks known, the move's high chance of poisoning a target makes it a threat in battle and exceptionally dangerous for wild Pokemon that do not have easy access to status curing items, particularly in the case of Weedle as they throw their entire bodies to actually deliver the attack. The bright colors of Weedle are meant to demonstrate the toxic presence and thus serve to deter most predators, or at least initially. Unfortunately for Weedle, the relatively slow movement speed makes it difficult for them to avoid sudden ambushes or sneak attacks from above, though the tiny hairs that line their bodies do aid them a little bit in moving around and detecting objects in their direct vicinity, making their offensive capabilities all but useless against intelligent avian predators. It does, however, make them especially dangerous in the case of travelers, as these creatures tend to remain well hidden under the piles of leaves they eat from and rarely take being stepped on lightly. It is advised that trainers traveling within the natural habitats of Weedle bring plenty of antidotes and full heals with them, along with any available berries in case of accidental attacks, as Pokemon centers tend to be few and far between in the forested areas they call home.
Like similar bug-type Pokemon, Weedle will cover themselves in a silk cocoon after acquiring enough energy to change into their adult forms, and effectively evolve into the pupa stage Kakuna, from which their adult form will eventually emerge.
In the meantime, however, Kakuna remain under leaves or within the nooks of tree branches, completely hidden from the view of all but the most determined predators. In order to increase the chances of survival, Kakuna will usually nest together in large communities in order to scare off potential predators before they can even get close. This is because, while Kakuna are nearly defenseless, it is exceptionally difficult to tell when they are near evolution without getting close to them. The possibility of facing an entire swarm of Beedrill is usually a risk that most predators prefer to avoid taking as much as possible. As Kakuna develop and change within, their semi-hard Weedle interiors gradually soften and grow into their adult forms. Since their adult bodies are exceptionally weak before they are fully formed, Kakuna gradually harden their exterior shells as their insides in turn gradually soften. While it is dangerous to do so, it is possible to tell how close Kakuna is to evolution by touching the outer shells, as the incredible amount of energy being used to change the interior form is at least partially expended as thermal energy. If an individual's shell is exceptionally hot to the touch, it usually means that evolution will occur within the next day or so.
Unlike normal bees, Beedrill do not live in true hives, as there is no true queen within their colonies.
Instead, Beedrill live in communal civilizations, working together to solve basic problems regarding food, territory, and reproduction. The only time Beedrill ever work under the orders of another is when a Vespiquen hive is in the immediate area, as communal efforts between multiple hives often benefit these creatures more than simply staying alone. Furthermore, Beedrill do not usually gather nectar and pollen like normal bees, instead living solely off of meat for survival. The only time they ever go foraging for said items is when honey is needed to feed newborn Weedle that is still too weak to function alone in the wild. What they do share in common with regular bees, however, is an extreme penchant for swarming. Beedrill are extremely territorial and see any violation of their territory as a violation against their entire community with absolutely no exceptions, making them a common threat for travelers who are unfamiliar with the surrounding environment. When a single Beedrill detects the presence of a threat, it releases a potent pheromone that wafts across the surrounding mile or so of forest land, enticing and alerting any other Beedrill within their zone of reach. In turn, those Beedrill will release the same pheromone before taking off towards the first Beedrill, with the chain continuing until the entire community is up at arms, ready to take on the intruder in a massive swarm. Few travelers survive such encounters without heavy damage, or at least being poisoned, and some never live to see another day, brought down low by the swarm's combined power. Insect repellent will do you no good in preventing these creatures from attacking. If you find yourself being chased by them, you should either run very, very fast, or prepare to fight for your life.
It is lastly noted that Beedrill is one of only a select number of Pokemon known to be capable of undergoing the process of Mega Evolution.
The reason why Beedrill are able to Mega Evolve at all is still a great mystery, as it is commonly thought that a creature with such a short lifespan would be unable to fully withstand the intense extra energy associated with Mega Evolution. Even so, this is nothing to downplay the significant power that these creatures are granted during this process. With a Beedrill-like clutched in their lower limbs, Mega Evolution mutates the bodies of Beedrill dramatically and effectively removes any grasping appendages from their body, replacing the lower limbs with stingers, enlarging the secondary stingers on their upper appendages, and increasing the size and power of the primary stinger on their abdomen. In this form, Mega Beedrill are extremely aggressive, and will not even think of their own safety in battle, ditching swarm mentality for ruthless aggression and independent effort. This is probably for the best, as facing a swarm of these Mega Evolved monsters would be a fate not even a Steel-type specialist would want to face on any day. Furthermore, Beedrill in the state have reinforced primary stinger that cannot be easily detached in any way, limiting their ability to utilize long-range special attacks. This is of little concern though, as Beedrill do not learn any special attacks naturally anyways. Similar to more advanced poison-type Pokemon, Beedrill contain two different types of toxins in their body while in a mega-evolved state. The venom produced in their limb stingers is a fast-acting paralyzing toxin that can incapacitate even an adult male human in a matter of seconds. Their primary stinger, on the other hand, is loaded with a deadly neurotoxin that can take some time to work, but will always kill its target without immediate medical attention, and is usually the finishing blow to an opponent already in a state of paralysis. Thankfully, these creatures are still easy to control as long as one is willing to practice with them and is wearing proper safety gear in case their mindless aggression is turned on their trainer by accident. In terms of stats, the reinforced nature of the stingers makes it hard for Mega Beedrill to launch projectile attacks, considerably decreasing their base special attack stat. This is more than made up for, however, with increased fighting power and mobility, marked by a cataclysmic increase to the base attack stat and a monstrous increase to the base speed stat. In turn, they gain the highest base attack and speed stats out of all poison-type Pokemon. In addition, for reasons that are still unknown, the increase in aggression enables these creatures to put as much force as possible into their attacks that they wield with the best part of their natural type combinations, effectively giving them the adaptability ability and in turn enabling them to utilize their best bug and poison type attacks to swiftly and violently destroy the opposition before they can even begin to prepare a counterattack.
As a fellow insectoid of a sort, I can understand why many people feel really uncomfortable around these creatures, and to be perfectly honest, I don't exactly consider myself a fan of their kind either. On the one hand, these creatures are fairly small and weak at a young age, and aren't that hard to defeat, but the use of poison sting as their only mean of offense can still make them a terrible threat for young trainers to encounter if they do not have anything in the way of antidotes to help cure any potential poisonings that might occur. Thankfully, this attack is really weak, and thus shouldn't be a huge problem for many at first, but it's also essential for them to have access to the attack when they evolve into Kakuna, as they otherwise have no real way to fight back against potential enemies. While this can make them a bit of a pain to work with to some degree, it won't take long for them to evolve into adults from this, and while Beedrill might be really frail for a fully evolved Pokemon, their access to attacks like Twin Needle and Poison Jab can make them a severe annoyance to deal with, especially with younger Pokemon. While the fact that they can Mega Evolve might be a bit of an odd thing, there is no doubt that their frailty is of little consequence in this state, as they can more than use their incredible agility and massive attack stat to great use to plow through anything that doesn't inherently resist their best attacks. While these bugs might not have the greatest long-term potential on their own, they can still be a thorn in the sides of novice trainers and are thus best approached with caution if possible.
An annoying and toxic threat to many at a young age, and more than a threat to those without healing items, the members of the Weedle family are devious creatures that can make good use of their venom to make life miserable for others. They might not have the stuff needed to be a direct threat to many experienced trainers, but that doesn't mean they can be just laughed off and ignored either, especially in large groups.
As such, do yourself a favor and make sure that you heed their presence and avoid them if you can in the wild. They might not be that hard to beat in battle, but they can prove to be a far bigger threat to trainers directly with a bee sting that can more than make life hell for those that get gored by them.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz, to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.